Howdy! Hello, friends and neighbors. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Knoll, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. I greet you with love and honor and the respect that you deserve from the infinite creator, from me to you and all your loved ones. Now, a little bit of South Georgia. I got some kind of little southern drawl going on today. Not quite sure why, but I seem to have picked it up. Can't quite shuck it off, kind of deal. But anyway, uh, there's some interesting energies in our atmosphere around the moon in the cosmos, and tonight I'm like, I was really looking forward to, like, woo, it's an almost full moon. Time for Dave to check where the stars are and do an Earth Wobble update because we've had a bunch of cloudy weather. And I go outside about sundown, and I look up and I'm like, chemtrails. I mean, crisscrossed everywhere. There's the moon coming up, chemtrails. And I'm like, you sons of you rat tank. And I'm thinking to myself, doggone it, man. Well, they left the daytime alone, sort of. But I'm like, all right, so now I get to go outside. The weather's going to clear up. I'm going to be able to look at the stars. Some bitch. Wine, piss, and moan. That's how I feel right now about that part. But now to that point, though, I was able to, between the clouds and with the brighter stars, and Mars is one of the easiest points to pick right now. To I'm always checking where in the sky is it? Is it up overhead? Is it down into the trees on the horizon? If you watched my videos before, I'm using it in a relative position. Again, I always try to go to the same spot within a foot or two, and I've even marked places out on my property out here where I go out and stand by the stick. So I am watching the sky from the same location every night, so I can't be 1 foot over or less. And because sometimes that will change what the sky looks like as far as, how close to the horizon something is. So anyway, I'm very particular in those kinds of things. So here I am, and I go out there, and I'm standing in my favorite spot, and the sun's going down. I'm looking on damn chemtrails, Well, there's the moon. Well, last night the moon was like kind of tilted more over, and now it's like wiggle. I call it wiggle in the title because I don't know what else to call it. It's not wobbling like the Earth is, but it's dang sure wiggling. And folks down in Australia and around the world, and folks to show up in the chat room, we're all seeing the face doing this rotating thing, spinning, wiggling. I'm going to call it wiggle because it's not really spinning, but it is kind of sort of rotating. But that kind of implies that it's going around like the Earth spins and all the other moons in our solar system. Only our moon just sits there. But the more I look at the face of the moon, it should come up like this, and it should go across the sky, and it should basically stay in the same position as it goes. Many of us have talked about this. Last night, I could see the moon clear. I went out, and I could actually see it set through this window over here, which is very rare, by the way. And I'm like, what the hell's a moon? And the face was tilted way more than it should have. And I was like, wonder what it's going to look like tomorrow night, meaning now. So I was outside just a little bit ago, and I was like, man, it's tilted. It's cocked, tilted, but however you want, like a clock face. 12 o'clock ain't 12 o'clock. It's moving over here. It's moving back over here. And as many of us have observed, it's wiggling during the night. It's not taking days or weeks or months to do this. No, it's happening over the course of several hours in some cases. Now, I have noticed that because, okay, I've been a night owl for a long time, but when you got to get up and pee every 2 or 3 hours, as old people sometimes have to do, I'm like, let me go look out my window here, which is like right there. Let me go look out the window and see where stuff is. Okay, then lay back down, or whatever, read a book, do a video, but then I'll go back outside because I want to see the progression of things during the course of the night. And oh my gosh. So The moon is definitely wiggling. Just going to call it that. The face is rotating. It's off again tonight. So we're going into full moon here in the next few nights. But South Georgia and the southeast down here, we're supposed to be getting some clouds and some rain in the next few days. So it looks like possibly about full moon, we're going to have rain, cloudy skies, and not be able to see it unless there's a break in the clouds. So might not be able to do an observation for the next couple of days from here. But anyway, so I kind of wanted to do this update. The other part of the title, had a little da moment there. The Earth wobble is being seen on so many levels by now all the science that's coming out. I mean, a warning came out yesterday, I guess, maybe it was late Saturday, for the folks down in Guatemala, because that big OS volcano was erupting again. Now, back in June, when I warned people about it, the following day it happened, and people got burned alive with the pyroclastic flow that comes down the mountain. It's ash and steam and a little bit of lava mixed in. Well, since it blew its top, it's not as explosive as it was back in June, but that thing's still going off. Now, just south of that one particular volcano, and I can't remember the name of it, not a long way away, through a little dip in the valley there in Guatemala, and then there's another great big volcano in Guatemala that's active as well. It blew its top after that one in June. I think it waited a couple of weeks, and then that one blew. And both of them are active again. They're warning people, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. And when you look at it from Google Earth, them two volcanoes take up a large spot down there in Guatemala. And if you got to get away from them volcanoes, which are pretty darn tall, you're going to have to get a ways away. Now, one might say that why are them people leaving Guatemala? They got two giant volcanoes that are currently erupting, have been, killed a bunch of people. Now, here's the biggest issue, though, which I don't think people are really paying attention to. As I was looking before that eruption in June, checking out Guatemala, I got other reasons I'm looking there, right? But anyway, I'm looking at it on Google Earth, and there's all these golf courses and all these plush, high dollar, rich people go there to vacation kind of deal, all down in the valley at the base of that volcano. And it was the people in these little villages, and those things don't exist anymore. When that volcano blew, the jobs went. Who's going to go down there? Because all of that golf course is covered in, I don't know, maybe 10, 20, maybe even 30 feet of lava and particles and stuff from the volcano. So the resort isn't there. That's the word. So the jobs where these people used to work are covered in volcanic ash now and rock and lava. Where are they going to work? Their livelihood is gone. A lot of times their houses are gone. Some of their relatives are gone. Where are they going to go? Well, what used to be their livelihood, there's nothing there now. I mean, even the jungles are destroyed. You say, well, they could go out in the jungle and survive. No, it's destroyed the jungles. I mean, it's turned the place into, oh my God. We don't have that up here yet. It, quite frankly, I remember when Mount St. Helens went off. I was down in here in Georgia when it did, but I mean, it sent ash and stuff up that, it was all the way across the United States. I remember I guess it was about 2001 or 2-ish in there, that the Okefenokee in southeast Georgia caught on fire. There was a bog fire there. It burned for weeks, months. There was smoke all over South Georgia and North Florida. You couldn't drive up and down the interstate on 75. You couldn't go across I-10 from Jacksonville anywhere west of Jacksonville. You couldn't see. They'd literally closed the interstate because the smog fog from the bog fire in the Okefenokee. And how are you going to put out a fire in the middle of a swamp? Because it's in a bog and how it burns. And, the only thing you can do is let it burn out. But man, it was nasty down here in South Georgia and in this area. I mean, it was going over into Alabama and further north up towards Macon. It was really nasty. So it's like, okay, that was our version of a volcano. But to the point, if a bog fire in a swamp can create that kind of havoc on the people, I mean, it was hard to breathe. I mean, so I have I been around a volcano? No, but I've been around bog fires. I've been around forest fires. That's no fun. And so it's like, so these things that are happening now with the earth and so forth, they're here. And if you live in a prone area whatsoever, and I want to make this appeal to the folks out in California as part of this earth wobble. The earth is wobbling big time. The scientists came out last week and they said, whoop, lava's on the move. I'm sorry, magma's on the move. It turns into lava when it comes out, but it's magma inside the earth. But they're saying, and it's being forced up. And so they're saying, magma's on the move, blah, 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 blah. What does that mean? What I've been talking about, others have been talking about for the last several years. The earth is expanding. These cosmic energies are heating up the core of the earth. They're heating up the mantle. The magma is thinner now. It's flowing quicker. I've mentioned this before. It's like oil in your car. If during the wintertime you go out there and pull the stick out, the oil's like honey. You turn on the engine, you let it heat up, you go out to the same engine, and the oil's real thin. It's called viscosity. As the planet heats up, so does the viscosity of the magma. It gets thinner, just like everything else that heats up. Okay, so this is like natural stuff. These are natural things. If you listen to Albert Labermont Weber and some other folks, we're going through what's called the Kali Yuga. It's like a 25,000, roughly 26,000 year cycle like this. I talked about it months ago, and actually a couple of years ago, where we were told that the galaxy has a thin belt that's considered the middle. All right. If you look on it on edge of a tire, think of it as like a bicycle wheel and the outer rim. And I forgot where I was going with that. Oh my gosh, I got a brain fart. Oh, well, there was something about a volcano that as I was trying to say whatever it was I was saying, it was like, but there's a volcano. I've talked about the volcano down in in Costa Rica and down that way, and I can't remember what there's Costa Rica, Guatemala, San Salvador, I think. There's a couple other little countries down in the thin part of Mexico, and I just got this flash that one of those other ones. There's one down around Nicaragua that's been very active. It's fixing to go off again because of the other ones. These things are natural things. Oh, I was talking about the Kali Yuga and the dip. Well, several years ago, the center of the galaxy, just think of it as looking at the edge of a bicycle rim, on edge. And so I get to the same spot and I get stuck. As it's spinning, it's sending energies out in all directions. And we have currently been getting energies coming from the inside the galaxy. And now they're talking about the hurricane of dark energy that's coming at us. But actually, it's supposed to be coming at us from a dwarf galaxy. They're coming up with some really interesting names. But the observations that the scientists are making, They're using this energy thingy, dark matter, blah, 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 ripped open a dwarf galaxy to let us know that we're in a really thick patch of this universe that a lot of us have been talking about. We're going through it. The whole solar system is. It's affecting every single one of the planets. And it's going to affect us until we get through it. It's just got to do what it's got to do. So the warnings to people like in California. Now I stated this in a Facebook video I did earlier on this evening, and I want to make this statement about the California fires. Now I have a 2-year certified degree in forestry and silviculture. I studied it. I live on 18 and a half acres down here in South Georgia. I am surrounded by huge plantations, lots of property, and we practice controlled burning down here so we don't have forest fires. So these pine trees that are really easy to catch on fire don't just light up and burn the whole southern part of the state down here. Well, and further north, but there's a lot of pine trees down here. It's part of what they do on these plantations. But to the point, the folks in California, the forestry department in the state of California, those people should literally be hung for what they've done to the forest. There is 1.5 million dead trees in just one portion of Northern California left standing because of the poor forestry practices, where they should have been doing controlled burning over many years. Burn a little spot here, burn a little spot there, so that the whole damn thing don't catch on fire. I'm a little pissed at some of these ex-Democratic friends of mine, if you will, because I was a lifelong Democrat. Now I'm an independent. I'm not anything. I'm no party, but I'll vote for who I damn well please, regardless of their party. It's the person I vote for. But to the point, the forestry practices out there are absolutely atrocious. It should have burned down worse than this before. I mean, it's seriously, the fact that it took this long to burn is like, it's amazing. From a forester standpoint, I've got litter and stuff in my backyard that I haven't burned in a couple of years because of my health conditions. But I was out there earlier this week, it was Saturday, and I walked out there and I was like, man, I got to burn this here. I got to burn. There's too much pine needles and litter on the ground that if it catches in the summertime when it's dry, it's going to burn all of my trees. It's going to go to my neighbors. I can, if I don't control burn my place every so many years or so, I could threaten the rest of these guys as forest. That's why they use the forestry department here in the state of Georgia. If you have a certain amount of property, they'll bring in a tractor and they will make fire lines on your property for you to keep the rest of the state from going up in smoke. They'll come in, and if you can't do it, they'll bring a tractor and a harrow, and they will create fire lines for you so that the fire won't jump between patches and different pieces of property. Now, when I look at, and I've been in California, spent several days up in the northern part of California. It's beautiful, and I was there 20 years ago. It was bad 20 years ago. And from what I've been reading and seeing about the other fires in California and what the forestry department, well, it costs too much money to actually go in and cut these trees down. But a guy can go in there and chop a gash in the tree, pour poison in it, which kills other things, gets into the fish and the streams and contamination. But it just leaves the tree to stand there and die, to become a firecracker, to become a Roman candle. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I'm talking about the forest. Now, I know there are whole neighborhoods that got burned. That's a different story, okay? Some of these fires swept through neighborhoods, but there were neighborhoods that didn't have any trees, and them places burned. That was unnatural. That was one of them DEWs, one of them energy weapons, okay? And there are pictures, too many pictures, of blue plasma type lightning things. Now, I wish to also state, because the magma's moving under the planet well, and because it's been moving towards California from the west, we've been talking about this for a while now. This energy's coming across the Pacific plate, headed for well, not just California, but the entire west coast, all the way from Alaska to Antarctica. But to the point, though, now that it's hitting, oh, and there were several earthquakes off I think it's called the Gordia Escarpment or something like that off the coast of Oregon. Several of them went off the other day off the coast. It's like 50, 100 miles. Be careful, tsunamis. But the fire issue, the our atmosphere is much closer. It's a little more denser. So if there's any kind of electrical discharge going on, which there's a lot of different magnetosphere things, the aurora borealis has been seen in the upper peninsula of Michigan, which is a little low. Usually you just see it in Canada and around the Arctic Circle. So all these magnetic energies and all these waves coming through are having an effect with the Earth. And as it has an effect on the Earth, the atmosphere is denser and closer in. So if there was a high magnetic charge with California further north than a lot of the other states, the magma, the composition of the rock could set up like a static charge and could discharge from the Earth to the atmosphere a blue type plasma event that would not necessarily be energy directed, because I've seen like little, like I've in burning my property and helping other people's and so forth over the years, I've seen some really strange things while you're burning. I've seen like little crackles of lightning go off that are like static charges. And so I say, because of the mountains and the minerals and the atmosphere and the charged particles and all the chemtrail stuff they've been spraying on us too, all of this could create a static type charge that would be blue in nature, sort of plasma-ish. All right. Not saying I'm saying in the middle of a fire that could happen because of the conditions. Now, neighborhoods burning no, we're this. I'm talking forest. Okay. There and oh, I firmly believe there's some fishy shit going on. I mean, that's that. Why are they spraying? Why are they spraying the damn clouds in the middle? Before at sunset and after sunset down here in South Georgia. What the hell are you guys hiding from me? Well, I've been talking about UFOs and stuff, and wobbling Earth, and the moon's spinning, and well, they don't want me to see that shit. Yeah, but it ain't just me. I realize that, but to the point is like they don't want any of us to see it. Back to the forestry though. In managing forest and what you do, the practices these folks have done in California, they should be hung. I'm not joking. I mean, seriously, they put millions of acres of forest at risk, people's lives. I mean, come on. What about the electric company out there that's like going bankrupt? I mean, these forest fires and everything, whether they created it or not, that's immaterial. Look at the thousands and thousands of miles of cable that are melted now, that now has to be repaired, replaced, and all that work. All of those transformers on the poles. Come on, all that's got to be replaced. Where are they going to get it? How are they going to get it there? What are they going to replace it with? Blah 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 blah. So it's not P&G's fault. It's the forestry's fault. Now, would PG, the electric company in California, Pacific, whatever it is, but anyway, you know what I mean. Could it have sparked a fire? Yes. But the reason the fires got out of control wasn't from a spark. It was from bad forestry management. Now, those of you who've hung around me enough, I support Trump with a lot of the things that he says and does. I've watched him. I paid attention to him. He says a lot of stuff on the sly. I've mentioned a lot of stuff. He started mentioning, when he was at the North Korea summit in Singapore, Hong Kong, Singapore. Anyway, out over yonder, he started talking about the secret space program and how him and his uncle used to stand out. I've had this conversation, but the thing is, Trump is telling us the truth in his speeches when he get, when people don't mock him and say stuff. When he was doing stump speeches, he was giving us downloads. He was giving us information about things. He was giving us UFO information because every time he'd say, and and the space program, every time he said it, I'm working on this, guys. I'm working on this, guys. This is disclosure because every time I do a speech, I throw this in and I'm serious because he keeps mentioning it and he wants to make sure everybody continues to hear it because his wish is to bring this stuff out in the open. And people, my ex-Democratic friends, well, actually, they're Democrats and my ex-friends. But anyway, I still respect them, but, they're cussing me for a sumbitch because I'm standing up for what Trump said. Now, for them silly people, Trump went to California and had his picture taken around Paradise, California. And these people were upset because Trump showed up there. And the words that he spoke he was babbling because he was talking about things that he didn't know what he was talking about. He was talking about horrible forest practices. You dumbass. He was talking to the forestry department. He made a statement before he flew out there that the forestry department was at fault for the fires and for how bad they were. And then everybody started bitching at Trump. What are you talking about? You're stupid. Hey, I got a degree in this. I've got 40 years of living on 18 and a half acres of forest that I manage. These people are idiots out there. And the state paid for it. Or didn't. Oh, they wanted to save money. In a national forest? State forest? Well, we only want one kind of tree. So they go in and created this catastrophe. Didn't manage by burning anything. I mean, even in North Georgia, they'll take a section, the side of a hill, okay? And they'll plow up it and across the top and back down, and they'll put in fire lines so the fire doesn't jump. And they go in and they burn it on purpose from the inside out or from the outside in. You go all the way around the thing and you set fire and it burns to the center. It can't go anywhere else. And because you burn it towards the center, it can't jump backwards unless there's a big wind. But the thing is, that's why they call it controlled burns. You control small portions of it so that you don't have this litter and debris on the ground. So the people, Jerry Brown, the congressional Senate and whoever in the state of California who passed these forestry regulations, funded it and allowed it, those people should lose their homes. They should sell everything and any kind of benefit or whatever property they own, they should give it up because what they did caused people's lives, homes burned, all of the above. And the people who voted it in should be liable for that shit. Now, and so should every one of the foresters who's allowed, oh, it's okay, it'll be okay. You all should give up everything you own and anything you earn for the rest of your life to pay back for your dumbass mistake. Because it makes other foresters who really do manage property and manage trees and are very successful. And these dumbasses out there in California want to make the rest of the planet look stupid. Now, were there energy weapons? I do believe so. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the idiots and the horrible forestry practices and the fact that people were picking on Trump because he went there to look. Oh, look, he went for a photo op. Trump can walk out on the White House lawn and get a photo op. He wanted to see this shit firsthand. And now people are picking on him for doing it. Oh, look at that. Look. Oh, would you shut up? You guys ain't happy for nothing. If he hadn't have gone, The Democrats would have bitched and complained. Well, what? Trump don't care about people in California? He can't even show up? The guy just got back from Europe, you dumbass. Give the guy a couple of days off, will you? No, he decided to go. And now everybody wants to, oh, Trump. Oh, shut up. But the guy is right. That's the bottom line. Whether you like him or not, what he stated about the California forest, actually, he was more true than what I've just explained. But to the point, he has the correct information. And everybody thinks he's a joke. Sorry. I'm a forester. I know. Next, tonight, watching the moon's much higher than it was a couple of nights ago. The moon set. I got all my windows on this side of the house are south facing. But when I look out that window right there, next to my stairs right there, I'm looking to the southwest. I mean, like almost towards Tallahassee, southwest. And the moon, I could see it so clear setting over there. And I'm like, that's not where it was a few hours ago, because it was a lot higher in the sky. And for it to end up where it was, Earth wobble. Can you say Earth wobble? Same thing with Mars. Now, Mars is really easy to see. Neptune and Uranus are sort of in the same sky when I look out towards the south from my location. And they'll be in our night sky for about another month or so, at least. Mars is starting to set earlier, and of course Neptune and Uranus, they're all following. So Pluto's in that mix too, but you got to have binoculars to see Pluto in there. But the thing is, though, is that one night, they're at this angle, and the next night they're up at this angle, and then 2 nights later it's back or even lower. And so when I looked the other night, I was on Milky Way Weeklies in the chat room, and I said, Mars is really low tonight. Well, 2 nights later, I went back out, looked up. Mars was about 20 degrees higher in the sky, about where it's supposed to be. I also checked on Orion and Pleiades, because there are certain trees on my property, like straight up my driveway is due east. I mean, literally within a half a degree of due east. That's straight line. So all I got to do is walk out in the yard and look at my driveway. I'm facing east. I don't need a compass. So, I go out there to watch Orion come up and see Pleiades and everything. And it's like, it ain't there again. It's down in the southeast towards Valdosta. Look that way, not east, but that. Oh no! Here we go again. So and the face keeps doing this number. So the other night it was sort of cocked this way, and it went down about where it was supposed to go, except instead of falling over the sky. And I should not have been able to see it through that window over there by the stairs. But where it set, I was like, how in the hell did it get there? Yeah, on the nights when the moon is more on the tops of the trees on my horizon, I expect to see it through the window because it's already low. But when it starts out high and ends up low in 5 hours later, that's some serious wobble going on right there. And the face is moving, still doing it. So, and I know it's not just the moon, because Mars is moving up and down as well. And so are the other major planets that I can see right now. Right now, I can't believe them sons of bitches out at sundown spraying the frickin' sky with chemtrails. There was a Native American chief several years ago, a medicine man, actually, not a chief. But he was asked, and he said that the white man was like, so what do you think of those chemtrails? They're poison and this and that. And the medicine man looked up at the sky and he went, you know what? I choose to think that when I pray to those false clouds, as he called them, he said, when I pray to the Creator about those false clouds, my prayer is that they're turned into a beautiful pixie angel dust before it hits the ground. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah. And he goes, I'm asking Creator, and them idiots are putting it up there. And I'm asking Creator, when I see him, I say a prayer and say, Creator, please turn those clouds into wonderful messages and healing for us, us silly, two-leggeds down here on planet Earth. And I was like, I go outside and shake my fist. And he was like, what good's that going to do? And I was like, well, that's a good point. And he said, no. He said, I used to shake my fist. And he said, and then a prayer came to me. And he said, Hawkeye, he said, you look up. He said, when you see those clouds, think that they're prayers. Now, the man who put them there and the airplanes that put them there, they were put there for bad intent. But I can stand under them and I can pray and I can choose not to accept that they're poison. I can choose to ask Creator to change that poison into things that will heal us. It's better than getting mad. I mean, why not? Well, you son of a bit. Okay. All right. Creator, change those nasty clouds, fix them, change them. You can do it. So could E.T. We don't know. But to the point, though, there is some serious a wobbling and a wiggling going on. I give a little bit of update. There are some special prayers need to go out to folk. Now, I know you probably know people in your community. Recently, some folks we know within our community, some people have lost a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or uncle or close person. In my realm of things in Facebook and through relatives and family and school and, life, there's a lot of people my age, in their 60s, because we grew up together kind of thing, who are really sick with, sure enough, going to die from some of this stuff. And I'm like, man, and some of these people are younger than me. And it's like, well, I've already walked with the spirits and I'm still here and I'm not going to go into that. But to the point, though, I look at them and I go, damn, man, I would have thought with my crazy ass, all the drugs and alcohol and shit that I should be dead before you guys. And actually I'm healing, I'm getting better because of my prayers and intent and so forth. And these people are dying. I mean, they're dying. And I'm like, lost another good friend that was 3 years behind me in high school. And I'm like, now, I say this with respect because I had a lot of good friends who were black, Cuban mix, Spanish mix, Cuban black. I mean, down in Tampa, there's a lot of mixture, and there's some Mexican thrown in there, but mostly Cuban and Spanish descent, if you will, plus some white cracker thrown in. And, throw in some Seminole Indian from the old days, and man, you got a Florida cracker. But anyway, this person was a mostly black descent, but Cuban Spanish side, heart failure, dropped him, had some little bit of trouble. He was a big fella. We played football. He was like a tackle or a guard, big fella. But I mean, he was built that way, not necessarily really fat. And, he took care of himself, but knocked him out. But, because of his heritage and family history and heart attack, took him out at the age of 63. And I'm like, damn, man. And I lost another friend a couple of weeks ago through high school kind of connection through the church and anything. Anyway, folks we knew, wow, they passed away too. Yeah, dropped dead of a heart attack, some bitch. Then I come to find out that a couple of people who were in my graduating class, one lady she's literally, they just about taken everything out of her. And she's like hanging on a thread. She gives a report from intensive care in the hospital to let her all, because she doesn't have any family to take care of her. Nobody comes to the hospital to put a Facebook thing out there to let us know that our friend is literally deathly sick and dying. And oh my God. And I have these conversations with y'all, and I don't mention anybody's name or anything, but at the same point, I'm like, I've spoke about, yeah, I've had a hard life, and I've accept what I got and so forth, and I've received many blessings simply by changing my way of thinking. And I'm always saying, there's so many other people out there that are so worse off than I am. Yeah, okay, I can bitch and complain about my back and my head, and that's all true. But then when I go out there and go, hearing who's sick and who's dying and who just dropped dead, I'm thinking to myself, some of these folks are in their 40s. I mean, which would be like the age of my son and daughter, and they're dropping dead. And not necessarily from alcoholism. I mean, they're just freaking dropping dead. And I'm like, what are you people doing? I mean, with my nasty lifestyle, I'm the one, I should have went first, but they brought me back because I'm supposed to be doing these messages. But to the point though, when I say there are folks out there who need prayers, oh my God, they're being eaten up with cancer. They're having their bowels removed. And I mean, they're losing legs, and somebody lost a foot because of and they're like 62 or 3. They were in the same school as me, but like sophomores or freshmen when I was a senior. And I mean, lost a foot because of diabetes. And I'm like, but you're younger than me. What are you people doing? But it's not just, I guess it's starting to hit home more. It's always somebody else that's passing away. Well, it's my friend's father, or no, now it's us. It's, it's you and me, it's not a distant relative. It's us that are dying, and being eaten up with cancer and so forth. So it's like, man, shoot. I did a video about suicides and energies. And now that I'm, I mean, I try to keep up with who needs prayers, but I was just here these last couple of days. I had no idea because I hadn't heard from this person in a while. Then you find out, well, how can you pray for somebody that before they have a heart attack and die on the spot? That's a little difficult. We didn't know he was sick. But to those other people who are suffering through these other illnesses, oh my God, please send the prayers out. Just whether you got a person's name or not, there's folk out there that really need our energy and our help. And especially if we know somebody, we need to go and lay hands on them and just speak to them. Whether we heal them, we need to go lay hands on these folk, share our energy, share a smile, do something. If it's just go talk to them for 20 minutes, folks need us. And we need to be there for them because they might not be around much longer in their own right or realm. So that's another reason. And my daughter's mother, my first wife, she's going to have heart surgery. I can't get to Ohio. Neither can my daughter. Would I love to go to Ohio and be there for when they open up her chest and, to be there for her recuperation? Yeah, she's all by herself up there in Ohio. Her daughter's down in Florida, and she only has one daughter. The grandkids are off in Connecticut. Her sister has moved away. Her brother's moved away. Her mother and father's dead, and she doesn't have any family. She's got friends up there, but she doesn't have any family. She's alone like me. I don't have any family around here. I got good friends, but my nearest family is 300 miles away. Well, okay, 275. And it's not a bitch. It's reality. And I'm not functional enough to be able to go to Ohio to stay with her and help her out. Somebody should be there. I wished I could. Yeah, she was my first wife. We've been long time gone, but we still, she was like my first love. I was her first love. We had first child together. There's that thing. And we learned a long time ago to be friends. We don't get together and do the thingy, but we can get together and sit on the couch and hug, and just reminisce and just be good friends. It's not about sex or anything else. But after all these years, my daughter's in her mid 40s, and it's like, so for all these years, for the last 30 years, we've been friends. Why not? Why be, life is too short. But at this time when she has nobody, the best I can do it right now is send her prayers because I can't get there physically, you know. Well, who's going to take care of my farm? That's not the point. I still can't get there. Other things get worked out, I wish I just had the money and the funds or whatever to be able to, for my daughter. She came up here a few years ago and all of us went to Ohio, and because her mother was having heart surgery, and they were able to put a shunt in through a laparoscopy kind of thingy, and they're hoping they can do this again, but there's still nobody up there. If anything happens or whatever, there's nobody there, and that's just a shame. you know uh, Somebody should be there for her. If I got put in the hospital, there might be one or two people around here that would ever come see me if they could. And it's like, there's no family, so I'd be by myself in the hospital, and have been in the past. No family around. I'm in the hospital, had my neck operated on by myself. They let me out, had to drive my damn self home from the hospital, all stiffed up and can't drive, and, 3 days out of surgery. That's a pain. But, I do, when I say I'm praying for other people who are lonely and who are sick and who need our prayers. Oh my God, they're big time out there. So I've been up almost for 24 hours. Unbelievable. I haven't been I've laid down. I've tried to go to sleep. It ain't worked. My eyes are drooping. I got a butt cramp again. I'm ready for another sandwich because I hadn't had much to eat today. But I got a couple good rows done in the garden. I learned how to herd chickens. Oh, that's what I want to talk about. Herding chickens. I'm hoping to see if I could do a video about how I'm learning how to herd my chickens in the garden. I got 11 chickens, right? And I'm like, why can't they eat the weeds in the garden, especially after this summer and the late everything? Let them help fertilize the garden with just going through, right? And that's what other folks do. But on my little farm, they've got a really nice big chicken pen. But it's like I'm feeding them, but they're not giving me any eggs. So why should I spend money to feed them? Why can't I just turn them loose in the garden? They can eat their fill of bugs and plants and things and stuff, and roots and things. Cut down my feed bill, which saved me $20 a month right there. Woo, I could use that, But to the point though, I was like, well, I'm going to try something new here. I'm going to see if I can herd like sheepdog. I was the sheepdog to my chickens. So I got 11 chickens coming out. And now the first thing is like, I open up the door and they're all standing there looking up at me like the door's open. And I'm like, come on out. And they're looking up at me. You've never let us out before. Come on out, chickens. Come on. It's okay. Come on. Hawkeye's opening the door for you. And all these chickens, all 11 of them, black secklings, a Dominecker, a couple of Rhode Island Reds. They're all got their little heads looking up at me going, what do you want me to do now? And I'm like, come on outside. And they're like looking around at each other, the fence is open, the door is open. And they're like peeking out, looking left and right, I'm like, come on, it's okay. It was funny. You kind of had to been there, but I've had some of these chickens now for going on 4 years, and they all have little personalities, and we get along or don't depending on the hen. But it was so funny. It was like in Chicken Run or something. It was like, everything is a movie in a way for me anyway. But all them chickens looking up at me with their little eyes, and they were looking at each other like, what's he doing? is he going to kill us? And I was like, no, come on out, and they were all, one or two would step out like the mother hens of the other ones, the more dominant hens, strut out a little bit, and look around like, and I'm like, come on, girls. It was just funny. I'm sorry. It was the look on their faces. And they say chickens are stupid. Oh, no, they're not. And that they can't do, listen. So, and so I'm working in the garden and I go a little ways. And I didn't know the chickens were like going to follow me like a Labrador retriever or something, And so I'd move across the garden. 3/4 of the chickens would like be right behind me, and a couple of them around my feet, which they don't normally do. But now that I've let them into the garden these last couple of days, it's like now they want to be my friend. Oh my God, where before they'd like, well, you come into the pen and we'll walk around you, but we're going to avoid you. Now they're like coming up around me and pecking between my legs and nestling up against me like, whoa, thanks. This is really cool. Now what? And then I said, come on, chickens, come this way. It was just hilarious. So, I don't know if it'll make any sense if I make a video of it or not, but herding chickens well, turned out to be a lot of fun these last several days. So anyway, I'll update you later on. I wish I'm sitting here. That one Rhode Island red looked up to me, and she's kind of got a little quirky thing with her eyeballs. Anyway, she like give me one of them almost cross-eyed looks, but look out one side over here and then look at the other chickens. It had to have been there. Oh, I've been up way too long. It's showing. Hey, Quartz, how you doing? I see you over here now. Are you laughing? Did I give you a giggle? I don't know if you've been around chickens at all. Just imagine 11 or 12 chickens all looking up at the same time. Just what? In wondrous amazement. And there's only hippie going to herd chickens into the garden. I've never heard of that before. Herding. Anyway, I got, oh, okay. Now I'm just gotten ridiculous. I can't stop laughing. Let's smoke a cigarette and have it take a hit off the bowl and talk about this for a minute. I do want to say something about the Schumann resonance. I check it every day, and almost every day I take a screenshot of what it looks like. And in my watching it, it's been really strange. It's about 8 is the frequency, 7.8, but usually the line's right there at 8. And so I started. I sometimes I look at it and it's so fuzzy with stuff. It's like woohoo, a lot of activity. And then other days it's kind of spotty, but there are patterns in the frequencies that are very consistent. And since I first did a show with Milky Way Weekly months ago showing about the Schumann and the different frequency levels, I've noticed that when you look at the chart, it's almost, let's see, I guess those are frequencies. So if it's 8, that's the frequency of 8. It seems to go in 4s. In other words, I saw a big jump at 16. So that's twice. But when you look between 8 and 16, there would be a little faint line going across. And then when you got to 16, then it was at 20 and then 24. And then, but 24 had a more pronounced line where there was just a little faint little line so it's almost like it's almost like harmonics. So every 4 cycles or whatever degrees, however you want to put it, And then, but when it gets to 8, there's a heavy spike. And then 4, little line, and then the next 8, there's a heavy line. And it's consistent all the way down. And so these last couple of days, it was easier to study that. But those specific frequencies are all the way across. Very, very few little breaks in it. Now the lines going this way, and they've been kind of shallow and then really heavy and then shallow again. But the frequency lines at 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, I mean, boom, 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 all the way down until they're off the chart. And it hasn't been that consistent. It was, okay, there's a heavy line there, and you couldn't see anything else in between. Now you can see these different every four, and it's like for the last several days, it's very pronounced and easy to see. Don't know what that means, except that it seems like it may be the harmonics of the cosmos. Because when you play harmonics on a guitar, you just barely touch your fingers on the strings and you get that bling, bling, anyway. And you can play harmonics and it will leave different tones. And it's a subtone of the major note. Anyway, I'm not going to go into music theory. But it's interesting that it's every four octaves, frequencies, or whatever, that this is showing up. Just an observation. I'm going to go out and check the moon. I can already tell that the moon's already too low. Well, I'm sorry. It's higher now than it was yesterday. Same window, but instead of looking at the bottom of the window, it's now, I can see the moon at the top. So the moon is much higher tonight than it was the last 2 nights. So we're either wobbling down, and and the moon's, it's moving around in its orbit as well. But Mercury was about where it was supposed to be tonight. I'm sorry, Mars. And the chemtrails were too thick for me to see Neptune. So I'm going to go out and check and see if anything's calmed down. And I follow up on the UFO that I did a video on the other morning. I went back outside and did some checking the tree line, checking the space where I keep seeing it from inside the house. And yeah, I say it's a narrow window compared to all the trees in my property line, which are extensive. There's this one little chopped out space where the power lines go. But it's really obvious. And so I watched it this evening as the sun was going down, and I noticed a plane that was in that little area. And it was obvious that it was an airplane. And I was like, look, there's a light in the sky in that area. But it was obviously, unmistakably, I was like, but that's an airplane. And, so I was thinking, how big was the light? And And I was like, nah, it was not an airplane I saw the other morning. Couldn't have been. May have been in the same area, but much bigger, different colors. The whole wasn't an airplane because I saw one tonight in the same area. And nowhere near what I saw the other morning. So anyway, that's just sort of a follow up on what I saw the other morning. So Quartz, love you. And anybody else who watches this video, keep a heads up. Keep the prayers going. Planet Earth needs it. A lot of our friends need it. My ending prayer before my butt cramp gets me too much worse. I love these butt cramps, don't you? Old age is so wonderful. But for you, your family, your friends, your relatives, and all of your relations, I pray that you will accept and receive the healing and the knowledge and the wisdom from the universe. I pray that every one of you will accept and receive and pass these blessings on to your friends, neighbors, and all of your relatives. And until next time, be safe. Thanksgiving's coming up. Remember, it's not about a turkey. It's about sharing what you have with those who don't. So be kind, be sweet, be yourselves, I reckon. Till next time, bye, Quartz and everybody. See you later. Till next time.